Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of People and Tech, where in this series we explore the intersection of people and technology through the lens of industry experts. And today we're in Barcelona, Spain, and I'm delighted to be joined by Pamela Chen, CTO and co-founder at Diddo. Hi, Pam, and welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Gabe. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you here. So for everyone who is watching who doesn't yet know, Diddo is a AI-powered solution that is revolutionizing the way we discover and purchase products online. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you've recently, I think, raised, what is it, just shy of $3 million
Yep.
to bring your idea into creation. Could you maybe give us a quick overview of what Diddo is and what you guys are building?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, Ditto is an API, the bare bones of it.
Yeah.
We partner with streaming platforms to enable users, to shop what they see when they're watching their favorite shows, their favorite content. It can be video form content. It can be like digital magazine form content. But we process the videos and we make the exact products in the video shoppable,
Okay.
as well as giving you three comparables at different price points. We also enable you to check out right then and there on the platform itself.
Yeah.
And we're an API, so we're platform agnostic. You can think of it a bit as like Stripe for social commerce.
Right. And when you say platform, streaming platform, are you talking about platforms like Netflix, platforms like Amazon, platforms like those kind of streaming
Any
platforms?
platform that has content. It can be things on your smart TV as well, like fast channels, like anything really, where you can stream something.
Okay, so this would be, for instance, let's say I'm watching an episode of, I don't know, whatever, like Game of Thrones or an episode of Desperate Housewives or something like that. And would you like press pause and then you can see, for instance, what the character or what the actor is currently wearing, and then it will suggest different options that you can pick from, or how does it look like from the UI?
Exactly. So are you familiar with like Amazon Prime Video, the X-ray mode, when you like pause
And it shows you the characters?
The characters.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea we have been promoting for an ideal UI. Of course, it's up to the streamer how they want to build it. At the end of the day, we're an API. So we give them the building blocks. You can imagine like Legos, and they build whatever they want it to look like. But yes, so ideally it could be a pause and it comes up. You can imagine that the experience tailors itself depending on if you're on mobile, laptop, TV, right? So we want to make it as user-friendly and as native to the watching experience as possible.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
But now taking a step back, because you're 25, and
I am.
yeah, you are. And I guess when you started building Diddo, when you became a co-founder at CTO, you were 23. So you're building what, in my opinion, is one of the most exciting AI built or AI solutions out there.
Thank you.
How do you start? Like, how does your career path take you to where you are today? Do you just like wake up one day and decide to slay a digital dragon, or like how does it work?
Well, not exactly that. I've always been interested in startups and entrepreneurship. I knew I was going to end up in that field somehow.
Yeah.
Didn't know how that was going to happen. So my path, like to where I am now, has been quite winding. Started off as an intern at a blockchain company before blockchain was a thing.
Okay.
Just did digital marketing at different corporations like Amex. Went to NYU Stern for business, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't go technical until after.
Right.
I realized that investment banking was not my ideal career choice.
So you started in doing investment banking, or that's what you studied?
Business,
Business,
business school. And it was like a business school where everyone is going to Wall Street, everyone's going to consulting, like kind of the typical big business school energy.
Yeah.
And very quickly realized that was not for me. So I went technical in a business school. So my co-founders are actually my like friends from uni.
Yeah.
They were in the same degree as me, pretty much. And
Also technical? Or?
not technical. So they're in the business school doing the business route,
Right.
wanting to go into entrepreneurship or VC or something startup related. And they're the ones who actually came up with the initial seed of the idea and pitched it to me. And I said no to quite a lot of offers, like CTO offers, just because when you go technical in a business school, you get so many of those, and you
from
really
people
have
within the study program or
exactly,
within
exactly. Like there's ambitious kids that are super like fluent and proficient in business and startups. Like everyone wants kind of a CTO, right?
Yeah.
And so you get a flood of requests, and it was kind of about filtering through like what opportunity, what idea has the best potential, what's the right fit for me as well. So I actually said no to my current CEO a few times.
Okay.
I left him on red.
So they really wanted to have you on.
I'd say I got quite a few offers to be CTO. But I said yes to this one because I felt like the idea was just, it has huge upward potential.
Yeah.
I just had a good feeling about it. I feel like if you start something, it really has to resonate with who you like are. It has to fit right, because if it goes well, it could be a decades-long process and experience. Right?
Yeah.
That's how we came to be in this. To be honest, wouldn't be where we are now without having the right conversations with the right people. I definitely can't take sole credit. I don't think my co-founders can either.
Yeah.
I think it was a really good combination of factors.
Yeah. And you're building something that hasn't been built before. Like, it's something new. It kind of, for me, the story that you're telling of, you met your co-founders at uni and whatnot, and you decided to build this, it sounds kind of like you're building like the first Facebook or something like that.
Gosh.
No, but I'm actually really excited about your solution, and I think it's going to be a huge success. That's my personal opinion. But when you're building something new, you're always faced with a bunch of unknowns, So how do you navigate those challenges?
You mean like unknowns in general?
Unknowns when it comes to the technical build of the product, because you're building something new and there's no blueprint on how to build it. Yes. So do you have a way of navigating through not knowing how to build something, and there not being, let's say, documentation on how to build, whatever components you're going to be building? How do you go about that?
Absolutely. I actually, initially it's a bit daunting, but I actually love the fact that it's relatively new and that we're not copying, and that we're not like, there's no set way to do it per se. Right. Obviously the sole components, like how do you build a good API? There's ways to do that, right? How do you do like certain things? There's ways to do that, but the whole thing put together took a lot of just being creative, which I think I really like. And I think that's where you can thrive a bit as a startup, because everyone who has the mindset to go into a startup is hungry, is young, or like young at heart, and for me, it's about just knowing what you don't know. You need to do that so you can find the right advisors, mentors, look in the right places, recruit the people who have the skills that you don't have. For example, any engineer that I brought on, my lead engineer, like for me, he's like a complement of my skill set technically. And that's how it works. You need to know like what holes there are to fill in your team per se. Also the accelerator, we had access to an like insane roster of mentors, technical mentors that were freely available for advice.
Tell us a bit about the accelerator that you joined.
Yeah, absolutely. So we joined this accelerator called Neo. The accelerator part of it is relatively new. I think we were in the second batch.
Okay.
We said yes to them because they had amazing terms for Silicon Valley, just really solid, and they shipped us out for a month to the west coast of the US for a retreat, fully funded, flew in a bunch of world-class mentors and advisors. I was one of 20 teams. Diddo was one of 20 teams. And I think that was a very invaluable experience. It set us up very much for success by creating a structure and a community and resources pretty much around us. And making it fun. Making it fun to build a startup as a young person. Everyone was young. Everyone had a cool idea. You're in the trenches with everyone. So it made it fun. It was like summer camp.
No, you have to enjoy as well the whole process of building something. I think, sometimes we take ourselves like too seriously. It's like, we're just building, But were there some mentors at the accelerator who, you found that their advice was really good, who were really inspiring?
Definitely. Do you want me to name them?
Sure, if you want to.
Okay. Well, I think we got assigned like a primary mentor. This is separate from the just general roster of mentors. So I actually really got a lot of help from our primary mentor called Ben, this guy called Ben Newhouse. He built a computer vision startup as well. He was very technical. For me as the CTO, that was really helpful. Someone who had kind of tackled the same things of working with a deep tech product that has like a very low margin of error. And just kind of, I was surprised and refreshed by how much you could just talk to these people. Like you kind of come in thinking, I have to know everything. And you realize that as long as you have like a good head on your shoulders and you understand things, you can pick up things relatively quickly, that people really level with you. Everyone kind of started from where you are at, you know, and the way they talk to you, the way they mentor you shows that. No one is kind of like, very few people were like, you know, dropping a bunch of lingo on you and trying to
these
seem
acronyms
smart.
And all this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's a pretty transparent atmosphere.
Okay.
In terms of like the general roster, Scott Forstall, he invented like iPhone and iOS, so he was there.
Yeah.
He absolutely tore our product down
Really?
from the ground up, from a product standpoint, because he's a product guy.
But not from like the vision standpoint.
Not the vision, but like the product, like the user experience, the product itself, the product positioning. He tore it down, and gave us again amazing insights. Like it's Suzanne, like another mentor. She was always there. Like even address things like co-founder roles, like things that I think are very underrated in any startup. Yeah. They really just gave us advice that if we had not heard that, we would have been screwed like 5 years down the line, you know? Yeah. So it saved us a lot.
Okay, that's really good. I like that balance between more like the technical advice, the holistic approach, let's say, when it comes to co-founder dynamics and whatnot.
Yes.
Yeah. And has there been so far, because you're still like, you know, you're still mid-build, I would say, what stage are you right now at?
We, like the product now, it took a year, I'd say, to make the product fully functional. Yeah. Now we're still fine-tuning it and improving it and like fine-tuning for certain use cases, making it perfect. But I wouldn't say we're mid-build anymore. I'd say we're in like the end part of the build. Yeah. There's always going to be obviously continuous, you know, changes and everything, but in terms of the product, we're towards like end build, I'd say.
This just goes to show that we actually never really talk about work.
We never talk about work.
I don't even know that you're already at this stage in the build.
Yeah, we've been doing things, Gabe.
Yeah, you have, as I can see.
Yeah.
So then that's actually perfect for my next question, which is, has there been a moment, or let's say a milestone that you've crossed where it clicked in your mind where this is going to work? Or has it always just been clear to you that this is going to work?
No, definitely not. We took on a very ambitious project, I'd say. Yeah. That there is no real example in the Western industry for how it's done. Okay. So we did not know anything was going to work. We had ideas. Like the thing is, with the way that AI has come now, computer vision, it's become like accessible enough for a startup with limited resources to be able to build something like that and be feasible. And certain solutions were released into the market very recently, right? Yeah. Like AI, that boom happened very recently. And with that came the like availability of a lot more different types of technology. Prior to that, you would have to spend a ton of money and resources like training your own models. I mean, even just the ability to do what we're doing now, the level of computer vision, the level of vision in terms of AI wasn't there until quite recently. Yeah. Let alone for what we're doing now in the startup environment where you are operating with limited time and resources. Yeah. So yeah, sorry, what was the question again?
Yeah, no. Was there a point where you realized that okay, this is gonna work because it hasn't been clear from the beginning, obviously, that this is gonna be a successful outcome.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, before we embarked on this, it wasn't just like, we didn't just say, hey, we're gonna raise, and you know, I talked to my co-founders and I was like, okay, we kind of drafted out what we wanted the product to essentially do, the functionality. I broke it down from like a technical standpoint. This is what it technically has to do. And then we went into the market to figure out like what's the best way to go about building it. And we came up with kind of like a MVP, kind of zero rough draft. Okay. So we knew that it was possible. We just didn't know if it was going to be like feasible in terms of like scalability, in terms of like how perfect was it actually going to be.
Okay.
There's definitely an element of like, okay, we have a hunch this is going to work because we've done the testing, but how is it like to see the product really come together and working in the way that it is and spitting out the results. I mean, I was even surprised, to be honest, and I've been building it for a year. So yeah, no, definitely there was a moment where we were like, okay, this is actually going to work. Every single like component that got kind of completed was a sigh of relief and an exciting kind of milestone for us, especially in the engineering team.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But talking about building, obviously behind the build, there's a team. And you're leading the team building the product. How do you go about managing a team, keeping everyone on board with the overall vision of the company, keeping everyone motivated, and also, making sure everyone is building correctly or on the right path?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's like defines maybe 95% of my job. You think coming in as a CTO, and it definitely is a part of it, especially in the beginning, the first year, the first half year to year, you do a lot of the hands-on work. But as the team grows, if you're a tech startup, the first hires are engineers, right?
Yeah.
So you're the first person that kind of becomes a manager. And learning to delegate things, learning to hand off, learning to communicate a vision that's like your baby, that's your idea, in a way where you minimize the friction and everyone kind of can be on the same page.
Yeah.
And it's like having a team of engineers is kind of like having, also having a team that you really need to work together. Like there's so many interpersonal dynamics, everyone brings their own personality.
Yeah.
So I am a very hands-on, I'd say, CTO. I make sure that like we're a remote organization for some parts of it. So I really make sure that everyone's on the same kind of roadmap. I have a very clear product roadmap that I have, project roadmap. Obviously, we use like kind of the regular ticket assignment tool, so everyone kind of knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like I try to build one-on-one relationships with all the engineers. I kind of make it so that different engineers are collaborating with each other at different, sprints or different blocks, because I don't want anyone to start working in a silo. I want to make sure that knowledge share is maximized.
Yeah.
When I was working as an engineer, I found that working in a silo in a remote organization was like one of the biggest killers of productivity. Yeah. And in a startup, we don't have the time for that. Like if I've on weeks where I'm not that, like where I have off weeks or, I definitely feel like the vision kind of scattering and everyone kind of going off a bit in their own direction, less communication.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to communicate things 5 times, like once on calls, 3 times, on Slack, another time on a call, you know what I mean? But I just take that as a part of the job, and I actually love it. Yeah, so.
I couldn't agree more, and I really now have the feeling, that I'm talking to a CTO because. We talk to a bunch of people, at Daydevs building software for clients. And when someone is not as technical as, let's say, a developer or a CTO, no, more as a manager, someone also managing a software development team, they're always mostly just thinking about the skill set that developers need to have. But there's a lot more than just a skill set. For a team to really function and harmonize properly and build the best product that they can build, they need to harmonize also on an interpersonal level. Communication is extremely important. So I couldn't agree more with that. And that's, I'd say, some of the hardest, I would say some of the hardest obstacles to overcome is finding a communication style that really works for, not just for the team, but also for each person as well. That's something that we've also been learning, as we go.
Communication is so important.
Yeah.
And the typical engineer, if you will, may not be the most naturally communicative, sociable type, just as with the nature of the job.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a part of it. But I feel like leveling with people from a human standpoint, being actually personally invested in people's growth, especially early on in a startup where you have the time to do that. It's not like we have 50 employees,
Yeah.
So because we have only a certain number of employees, everyone needs to be a bit more horizontal. Everyone kind of takes on more responsibility. And personality, I think, becomes even more important because you're not just doing one little function in one little team.
Yeah.
I think as companies scale, it becomes a little bit less personal because of that.
Yeah.
But definitely now, I definitely communicate very honestly, very real to my engineers about everything I'm saying to you now, pretty much. I think having the transparency and treating everyone like, an equal, and having everyone give their opinion and telling them how important it is to communicate with each other and to, I'm very real with them on that.
Yeah, no,
side.
that's really good. And where you're sitting, you're obviously in charge of the team, the software development team.
Yeah.
But you're also one of the co-founders.
Yeah.
So do you find that you're sometimes in between making those strategic decisions that could pause or change the direction that you're currently taking with the team building? I think for an engineer, having to pause something you've been working months on to now prioritize something else, do you find that you're sometimes in that position where you have to juggle both?
Definitely. In some ways, I am the representative of the engineers for the co-founders, right? And I'm also the representative of the co-founders towards my engineers. So I definitely feel like sometimes I am juggling different wants and different understandings and different, visions per se, right? Okay. There's definitely a bridge that needs to be created between the business side and the tech side, right? Like really solid business people. They definitely have a base. My CEO and my CPO, they have a really solid understanding of what the product is, but still they're not in the trenches with us every day. So there is a natural kind of division in terms of what they know. And I think for me, like being in my role, communication is of the utmost importance, of knowing how to juggle what the realistic engineering timelines can be, because not overloading them, but also like finding the right balance between motivating them, communicating the vision to them. Pivots in engineering teams is going to be absolutely just unavoidable. So yeah, definitely. I feel like I definitely have to go to my co-founders and be like, this is what's realistic. This is the timelines. What you want is going to mess up these timelines, and then going back to my engineers and be like, okay, here's like the new plan. But I try to avoid having those really sudden things just because I think quite a few steps ahead. I try to forecast like what we're gonna need in X amount of months, or like, I try to have a really good understanding of the business side as well as the engineering side to prevent any misunderstanding that could create like now we have to switch gears suddenly. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And those times, sometimes they do happen. I remember there were times when, I don't know, you were up all night, with the team, because you're quite hands-on as well with the product. And moving on a bit more into the AI side of things, you are at the forefront of it. You're building an AI solution. So being on the front line and building something which is powered by AI, do you find that you're able to have a wider vision of all the other updates and new things coming out in AI? Or do you find that you're so dialed into what you're building that you are unable to have the wider vision of the broader landscape? Is there do all you AI founders get together in someone's basement and discuss how you're going to take over the world?
There's a secret society.
Is there a secret society?
Well, I can't tell you.
It wouldn't be secret anymore.
Exactly. Yes, it definitely is a bit hard to get lost in the noise. There's always new updates, new developments. We're in the AI boom. But I will say that I think I have to give kudos to my team. I have to give kudos to my team in so many of these topics, to be honest. But all my engineers are so passionate, and every single one of them, from like the most senior to the most junior. And we all we have like a channel where we just post new technology. Like in their free time, they just like to, they're passionate, so passionate about the product. That in their free time, they go and look for like, new models that dropped, or new LLMs, or new solutions. And same with the co-founders, like both my CEO and my CPO, they do the same. If there's something that the engineering team could use, like they throw my way. And for me, like I recognize how crucial it is to stay on top. I don't necessarily want to adopt a new technology to look trendy or because it's popular. I think super practically about what we need as a startup and what's helpful for us. But I definitely, if there's a way to do something better, like I'm very interested in hearing it. But I give all of my engineers a lot of autonomy in terms of like, they own what they're building. And because they own what they're building, I feel like they're like, okay, I know this really cool new way that we could build it, or this new technology we should keep our eyes on. So we have our eyes on new things always. And I'm always reviewing new things. I make it a part of my job because I think it's important.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah.
And are there times when you decide to implement versus to innovate? Are there sometimes because I guess what you're building has different blocks, can you sometimes implement, let's say, something that's come out which could be helpful to you, or do you always need to build things from scratch from the get-go? Or can you maybe implement a solution that you later on want to custom build to better fit your overall solution?
No, definitely. No, it's definitely a mix of the two.
Yeah.
I think a lot of technical startup founders come in thinking that it's just you have to build things from scratch. Mm-hmm. And I came in thinking that it was actually the mentors at the accelerator that were like, why are you doing it that way? Why do you want to do it that way? Like, you're a startup. You know what I mean? Like, do it the smartest way for your startup. Like, you don't have the time and the resources to do that. Yeah. If there's something that works out there, that makes sense, right? We don't want to be, it's like finding the balance between becoming too reliable on like a third party thing or something like that, versus, the practicality, the ease, the convenience, the out of the box nature that it brings you. Yeah. Right. So it's about finding that sweet spot. Yeah. Exactly. The sweet spot. But it's definitely a myth that you have to, like, I don't think you can become like successful if you do that. Definitely not. Yeah. You have to find solutions out there that work, out of the box things that work. Yeah. I mean, it's always going to be a mix of the two. Yeah. Yeah.
And talking about AI, like, it's so fast paced. Like, all the time there's these new things that drop and whatnot. Are you ever afraid that something might drop that would replace or wipe out what it is that you're currently building? Or do you already know this from your secret meetups with everyone who's working in AI?
No, I don't worry about that. But I think that's because of the nature of our company. Yeah. It's not just a deep tech company. It's a very unique company in terms of the fact that it is deep tech. Like, it's very technical, and your tech has to be perfect. But it's also relationships based. And it's also the way you put it together is very unique. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, I very highly doubt there's going to be a technology that comes out and replicates what we do tomorrow, or because it's like a very niche use case and a bunch of different functionalities put together. Yeah. Right? We have partnerships with the platforms, the streaming platforms. We have partnerships with the fashion brands. We have the native checkout component. We have the product brandscape. You know what I mean? We have the video engine. Like, I highly doubt there will be someone who does it. Yeah. Yeah. But so on that front, no. But if anyone wants to come out and make certain aspects of our build easier, I think we would just think of it as a tool, and augment our processes with it. Yeah. No, I don't think that's particularly for the business model we have a big issue. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And you mentioned a bit. I like to ask guests who come onto the platform about some of their favorite tools that they use. You mentioned some of the tools that you use, I know, for ticketing and for communication. Mm-hmm. Are there some tools which you find are really helpful? It could also be just the standard tools which everyone uses. Everyone's on Slack. Most people are on Slack. What are some of your favorite tools?
So we live on Slack. For project management, I love Monday for the aesthetics, and I'm on it the most, so I just keep it simple. Monday works for me very well. Miro, I like to visualize everything. Yeah. Miro, Miro.
Yeah, we use it as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So having our data, our system architecture, our data flow mapped out, everything that needs to be visualized, so everyone can use it as a point of reference, keep it updated. Notion, our whole company documentation lives on Notion. I think the ex-CMO of Notion is one of our angels or advisors or something. Okay. So yeah, I forgot her exact position, but yeah, she's great. Yeah. And of course, like with the accelerator, we had a bunch of credits and perks and partnerships with these things. Yeah. But I think it's pretty standard.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, but those are good tools. We use most of them as well. So they're pretty good. And now just taking a moment to reflect.
Okay.
Yeah. Looking back, now that you've been building Diddo for a while. Yeah. At this stage, have you discovered something new about yourself that throughout from this journey that you didn't know before?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every single day. This has been a whirlwind. It's still a whirlwind. You definitely come in with a different sense of self. You don't know what you're capable of, right? And you kind of come in, you get to know yourself a lot more on the positive side, like what you can do, how your strengths are, what you're capable of, like the energy you bring, the value that you bring, but also the negative side, like how it really highlights like how good you have to be at like motivating yourself, regulating yourself, like, you know, having a nice inner voice, you know, challenging you to deal with interpersonal relationships. Co-founding dynamics are so important. Team dynamics are so important. I kind of think it brings out the best and the worst in you. Yeah. In some ways, the self-doubt as well as the confidence, right? And yeah, I think I don't know. It's been a really formative experience in that sense, and really gratifying. I think to be invited to do things like these podcasts or conferences.
Because you're speaking at a conference soon, I think, no? In January?
I am. I'm speaking at CES in Vegas.
That's a big one. I've been there one time. Yeah.
Well, I haven't been there.
Bring some good walking shoes. There's a lot to see.
Yeah. I'm excited. I have to prepare a bit for that. But no, it's wild, and to be invited to be speaking along panelists that are, you know, so high up in the industry, working at huge companies, just I don't know. It's a very humbling experience. Yeah. But I've loved it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And off the back of that, a lot of people would assume, you know, being so young and having all the responsibilities that you have, that there's a lot of challenges that come with that. For instance, like lack of experience or a lot of unknowns, as we just discussed, or maybe not having as many contacts as people who have been in the game for a longer time. But I would like to flip the question and ask you, what are some of the advantages that you see in being a younger leader?
Definitely. The advantages of being young.
I mean, there's a lot of advantages of being young.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like you have a bit of a fresher, I don't want to say that older people are stale, but you have less of a preconceived notion of how to do things. Yeah. And when I say, for example, complementary skill sets, my lead engineer, he's like almost 10 years older than me. And, you know, I love that because he adds a different sort of like age and experience. But I definitely have noticed the value in me not having worked. So he worked at Cisco, for example, for many years. One of the huge, like the biggest, you know, tech companies in that sense, who have more traditional ways of doing things, structured ways of doing things. I've noticed that for a startup, it kind of helps to come in and be like, you know what, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to get it done. And we're going to get it done in a innovative way. Like, we're not going to follow a script. Like, we can do it that way, but like, how can we make that better? Yeah. And why don't we do it this way instead? And like, well, why do we do it that way? It's like that kind of like why and energy that you bring because you're fresh into society and you're still questioning everything, right? Yeah. I'd say, I mean, there's definitely older people who have that too. I hope to be one of them one day. But I think that definitely helps. I think it helps to not take yourself too seriously. To come in and just be kind of like, I don't know everything. Yeah. I think you can't, like, as a 23-year-old, you're not coming in thinking I know everything. If you do, you know, you should probably see a therapist. But I definitely didn't come in like that. Yeah. But I owned that kind of energy, and people don't expect you to. You're 23, you know? Yeah. So it's kind of like being like, I don't know everything, but I'm really eager to learn. And as long as you come in with a bit of self-confidence and a willingness to absorb, I think that is the benefit and advantage of being young. Yeah, I love that. Just a mindset thing. Yeah. But you can have a young mindset at any age, to be honest.
You can. Yeah. You can, yeah. 2 more questions for you. Looking back, if you were able to send yourself a text message today to the person you were just as you were about to embark on this journey with Diddo, is there anything that you would tell your younger self?
Like my 2 years ago self?
Your 2 years ago self, yeah. Looking at it from less of the perspective of age, but more embarking on this journey of building something, yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't think I would tell her anything. I think I would just let her do her thing. Yeah. Yeah.
I like that.
I don't have regrets. I don't have, I think even the moments of, I worry that if I say something like, oh, it's going to go well, or, oh, you know, don't do this, that it's going to kind of mess up the process a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't want her to be too confident. You know, I don't want her to be too figured out. I like the fact that she came in messy and that she came in having to wing it, much like I'm winging this podcast. And I think it creates a very organic experience. So I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
Maybe in 10 years I'll look back and say different things. But for now, no.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep on discovering. I really like that. And last question. For anyone, young, old, whatever, looking to embark on a new adventure, a new journey, looking to build something, looking to start something, is there any advice that you would give them?
Anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur, or like anyone starting anything new?
I think maybe wanting to be an entrepreneur, just because that's specifically what you're doing now, and I think people can take that and apply that to whatever it is that they're doing, which is new. It's always kind of those new beginnings, those unknowns, that can be replicated in whatever it is. But yeah, let's just say for entrepreneurship, yeah.
I would say definitely don't take it too seriously, but not in the sense where it's like, it's not that bad, or you don't have to be that serious about it, or don't be ambitious, but embrace failure and embrace uncertainty and embrace things that you don't know with open arms. I think that has been the major mindset difference that I've noticed between me and other founders in the Accelerator, and me in general.
Yeah.
I don't think I take the failures or the shortcomings or the criticisms or the anythings personally. My co-founders, maybe a little bit more, just a difference in personality, but they've mentioned how refreshing it is to have someone who's a bit more of like a rock during those moments, who can kind of stay clear-headed and grounded.
Yeah.
I think failure is a good thing. I think someone tearing down your whole product from the top down is a good thing. I think people giving their advice, criticisms, naysayers, people who don't believe in you, I think that's a good thing. Just because, like, it doesn't mean you have to take it personally, but I would embrace all of that with an open mind and with less emotional ego attached, because I think that's the way you can process it the most organically and the most authentically. But for anyone who's looking to joining the space, I'd say go for it. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Get good at talking to yourself, because you're going to need to do that a lot. Make sure that you do it for the right reasons, I would say.
You should be a life coach as well.
Do you need one?
I think we all need one. Sweet. Well, thanks, Pam.
Thank you,
That
Gabe.
brings us to the end of this episode. So for everyone watching, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow below. And as always, keep on discovering, keep on learning, and keep on sharing. Great. Thank you.